Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Greetings and welcome to episode 283 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
I'm going to either say my name is Drowned or my name is Barbara still, because this is going to be a week after the race. So I'm just saying my name is Barbara.
Yeah, let's be positive here.
Okay.
So it's obvious Barb and I have been talking about this race for the future, 9.0. Yep. Seems like we've been talking about it for many, many months. And even though we actually haven't done it yet, because we're recording on a Friday, this episode, by the time you hear it, yes, we will have been done with the triathlon, and we will all have won gold medals, and we would have all survived.
Right. Yeah. You say that so confidently.
Yeah, I do. The nice thing is the weather.
Oh my God, it's going to be 70!
Yeah, that's like perfect triathlon weather.
Well, the fucking Lake Michigan's like 67. It's cold.
Oh.
Physical weather is good, but the lake is some kind of cold. That's the coldest it's been since I've been doing this race.
Seriously, because that's weird. This whole area, we've been in this massive heat wave for months where we're topping 100 degrees. It's not warming up that water?
It was 96 Monday, and when we race Sunday, it's 70. So I don't know. It's just my luck. Your luck. I don't know, but it's a good thing.
Are you wetsuiting it or still no?
No, I don't train in a wetsuit, so I'm not racing in one, but I'll be honest with you, that swim really just gets in my head. I'm really prepared, but I'm really nervous and I get really jacked up, where it's before the race right now. So all of those that are around me for the next 2 days are going to get a little taste of the Barb that's a competitor. I get really
okay.
A little bit nervous, very
duly
focused.
Noted.
Yeah, duly noted. So if you
Everyone
see me,
keep your distance. Yep.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't want to die. I've been training really hard, and I have a goal in my brain to just do well. So, and I know you do too, and you've got a great partners. I saw Mark and Bobby's posts on Facebook. It was really cool.
Yeah, they're turning it into a whole hangout weekend.
Yeah,
good for them.
Did really good raising money. I really want to congratulate you and your teams. You did really, really good. I'm super proud of you and everybody that donated to us and to the race. Anybody listening, I just like to say thank you. But you guys really did well. I'm super happy for you.
And that's what it's all about.
Yep.
We come on here and we talk about the actual activity. We about the weather or the
training.
Or the training, or we joke about dying in the water. All of that, it doesn't matter. It's all about raising money for the foundation, which is honestly just a great way to increase our education in our industry, and that's what it's all about. I wouldn't be doing it without it. So
let's go us.
Yes.
So to segue, just a quick reminder that our show will be recording at the DTG Symposium. It's a fantastic collection of speakers from around the world. We will be in All Sip.
Yep.
All Sip.
I think so.
We're going to all sip some Fireball. All Sip, Illinois, September 15th to 16th at the GC America facility. A couple of weeks ago, we had the creator of the DTG and a few speakers on that talk about the event. Unfortunately, of course, I wasn't there. But if you are looking for some top-notch hands-on education, head over to dtgevents.com to see the lineup and to register. Also, you don't have to be a DTG member to enjoy this amazing show. But if you do go, please stop by and talk to Elvis and I. Sit down, chat. We'd love you on the podcast.
It's going to be a great show. They have a killer lineup.
I'm super, super stoked.
So this week, we talked to a Kiwi that is in the design business.
A Kiwi?
I found out that is the name of people from New Zealand.
Huh.
Yeah.
You found out because I wasn't there. I was probably working.
Yes.
I'm really sorry.
He called himself that, so it's okay. Mm-hmm. There are many places that labs use that will do most design work for you. But one of the companies is Evident. Evident's been around for 15 years. So they have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Joining the podcast is Guy Menzies.
I love the name Guy.
It's a good name.
My son's girlfriend, her dad's name's Guy. Sorry, just keep going.
That's a lot of guys. Joining the podcast is Guy Menzies, the Vice President of Design. Guy comes on to talk about all the things that Evident does, from lab management software that started the whole company to their 350 designers that are working 24 hours a day to help with your lab's production.
That's a lot of effing designers, Elvis. 350?
We also get into how they train and scale so many of these technicians, how they can cater to your lab's preferences, the exciting new way for Exocad users to send directly to them, directly from the software.
Nice.
And some interesting trends that only a company of this size and global footprint can see. So join us as we chat with Guy Menzies. What's the worst part about getting into digital in dentistry? That's not having the support that you need. And did you know that Ivoclar has digital equipment sales specialists? These experienced professionals, now these are people that have been doing this for a while. They're here to help make your transition to digital a smooth one. Don't waste your time with anyone else. They help provide customized solutions, analyze your ROI, provide hands-on assistance, and localized support. All of this catered to your needs. Let's be honest, when we're into digital, most of us have a lot of needs. Contact a digital equipment sales specialist today by emailing digitalspecialist@ivoclar.com. Tell them you heard it here on the podcast, and always, Ivoclar, we appreciate your support. Voices from the Bench. The interview. So we have the extreme pleasure today to talk to somebody who's the VP at Evident, Guy Menzies. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks, Elvis. Thanks so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. I've watched the show for a long time now, so it's good to finally be on it.
Ah, that's awesome. So happy to finally have Evident on. I mean, it's not like y'all are small in our industry. You have quite the big footprint, and I'm surprised it took 5 years to get somebody on.
Yeah, it has taken a while. But yeah, lots going on in those 5 years, and the company's grown a lot, so it's good to connect up with you.
So tell me a little bit about Evident for the listeners that aren't quite familiar what the company does, because I know you're in a lot of different aspects of dentistry, not just design, not just software, but a whole lot's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good question, because there is sometimes a bit of confusion out there, and it is a question we get quite a bit, like, what is Evident? And the best way to sort of look at Evident is that we're a CAD design center and a workflow automation company. So we essentially, the entry point for a lot of our customers now is CAD design, but we have teams of account managers and specialists that we sort of build around our partners, and particularly laboratories for our audience today, that they work with our partners to understand their needs, their workflow, and any potential problems that they're having with those, and then they work to automate that workflow around or end-to-end, particularly around CAD designs as well. So that would be the best way to look at us. But then there are other bits and pieces that we do, right? We have our lab management software, which is where we started as a company 15 years ago. We have a very loyal customer base as well. And then we are also into a bit of reselling as well. So resell Meta, Exocad, and now Shining 3D scanners as well to help digitize the industry. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, there is a few different elements to Evident, but CAD Design Center and Workflow Automation Company is the best way to look at it.
So it actually started as the lab management software.
Yeah, about 15 years ago.
15 years ago, wow.
Yeah. So I joined up with Evident about 7 years ago when our CEO, Paolo, had recently acquired the business. And yeah, we started out a pretty small company back then. We're really I worked a lot closely with our labs, and particularly setting up their lab management software, setting up their their workflows and everybody basically setting up so they can get all the data out of the system that they need to run their business. And then since then, we opened up the CAD Design Center and it's sort of just kept moving down that workflow more to automated. And we've gone from having a handful of staff up to about 400 now, so over the last 7 years.
400 people work for Evident?
Yeah. So
wow.
About 350 of those are technicians now as well, designing. So it's growing rapidly, and a lot of that growth has come from about 2020 when COVID hit, when the big digitization happened.
Yeah, everybody needed somebody to do the work.
Exactly. They couldn't get anyone in the lab, and then everyone was going digital, which added a whole lot of problems, for the laboratories. And it really exploded from there on, which it's been a good ride.
So where do you come from, Guy? Did you have a lab background?
No, not at all, actually. So I'm from New Zealand. It's where I was born and raised.
I was going to say, you don't sound Canadian.
No, definitely not Canadian. So, I essentially went to university for sport and recreation management, and I came out of university around 2008, I think it was, and a couple of years later, I ended up moving over to England, as a lot of Kiwis do, and I got into telecommunications, and then basically my time there came to an end, and I moved over to Canada and linked up with Evident, and that's where I started out as essentially sales and support staff member for our lab management software. And so it's where I learned a lot about the industry. If you want a crash course in running a laboratory, it's a good way to do that is setting up a lab management software and understanding all the different elements that need to go into that. So that's really how I got my experience in the industry.
And you came into Evident with zero dental background.
Zero dental background, yeah, absolutely. I the lab world, I don't like admitting it, but I barely knew it existed. Like people
sure.
say, you see the front side as a consumer, the clinicians, but yeah, it was a big eye opener, and I've loved it ever since. But for me, what makes me just want to stay here and keep working in the industry is the people, right? Like we have the lab people, some awesome people, we've got great customers, and it's just a lot of fun when we get out there and get on the road and go visit them or get down to the trade shows. You can't beat those trips. So
absolutely,
a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you came to Evident, and your goal was to get labs onboarded with Evident's lab management software.
Yep, that's how I started out.
How do you sell a lab management software to a lab when you know nothing about what a lab does?
Yeah, so that's where the crash course came in. So my onboarding was really heavily around going down and visiting labs that we work with. So I actually spent the first month of my career at Evident down at a lab. To understand it. So that was an eye-opener, as I mentioned. I like to think I'm a quick learner. Some people might say I'm not. But essentially, but then had to learn on the job,
Sure.
It's changed a lot since then, right? Early days, it was all about PFMs and so on, and now it's all moved through to zirconia and so on, and a lot's changed. But luckily, I managed to learn pretty quickly and understand essentially the problems that they're facing, right? And then how we can provide solutions around those with what we offer in our LMS software. So, it's been a good journey.
Yeah. So what is the lab management software from Evident? What exactly is it? Because maybe some of our listeners don't understand what management software is.
Yeah, no worries. So it's an ERP system, essentially.
And that doesn't make it any easier to understand if you use ERP. What is that?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to look at it is it helps the laboratory manage their entire operation. So from when a case comes in, you book it into the system, that'll pull through the prescription, it'll schedule around the lab, and you can track technician productivity and track where the case is in the laboratory, track who did what, track internal remakes. Then you move it through to the invoicing and billing. And then we also have obviously the sales reporting, production reporting, inventory control. And then it's also directly linked up with our CAD design center. So it's using a lot for storage as well. And then you can send your files directly to us for design.
Oh, from the software. Nice.
From the software, yeah. So, and then they essentially connect up with their own CAD design team at Evident.
And I've imagined that as the industry is involved, so has the software.
Yeah, absolutely. always having to evolve it. It's definitely an ever evolving piece of software, and it is a cloud based software, which does make that a little bit easier from our side as well. So always a work in progress.
Sure. So what are you doing for Evident now?
Yeah, so my role now is vice president of designs, and so basically what that encompasses is managing the design side of our business. So I've moved on a little bit from the LMS software, and I've worked across every different role within our company over the last 7 years. But
Yeah.
now I'm on the design, which is our fastest growing part of our business. So best way to sort of look at it is that I run all the customer facing team and are accountable for the overall success of that part of our business.
Can you design?
I cannot design, so I'm not a designer. I can do the basics, but I am not a technician. So if you ask me to design, you wouldn't want to put that in your mouth.
That's funny. I imagine you started with just single crowns when Evident started and kind of worked your way up through all the other restorations?
So yeah, we started with crown and bridge, definitely not single crowns. How we started out was we worked closely with a couple of partners, and a lot of it was smile design cases, those larger
Really?
wax ups.
Yeah.
And so we started out working just for a handful of labs, and we actually released it exclusive to labs on our platform first, and then we've got to thank them for their support. They always help us launch new products and help us test new ideas that we have, and essentially that started to take off. We did a lot of crown and bridge cases, then moved into implants. And then night guards as well. But then since COVID, we're starting to now do RPDs, dentures, aligners, and everything in between. So we're now a full service CAD design center. So definitely started out with Crown and Bridge, which is the engine of the industry, but now a full service design center.
And you say you have about 350 designers?
Yeah, 350 designers across 6 locations in the Philippines. So our CAD design center is based in the Philippines. So they're all Evident staff, and it's basically it's headquartered out of Manila. Have you ever been over there?
I have not. Have you?
Yeah, I have. I went about this time last year, and it's an awesome place.
Yeah, I bet.
The size and scale of Manila is pretty hectic when you come from a small country like New Zealand, but it's a beautiful country and great people as well.
So how do you go about finding technicians in other countries and training them?
Yes, that's a good question. So when we started out, obviously, how do we go about finding them? We have obviously our own HR team, which go and recruit technicians, but there are a lot of dental tech schools in the Philippines.
Are there really? Wow.
Yeah, there are. So we've got a lot of connections with them as they come out of school. We provide careers for them and give them a clear career path and really try to set them up for the success and support their family. But obviously, when you get to about 350 technicians, we're not just hiring technicians. So we have our own training school as well. So we have a 1-month onboarding process that our trainers walk our new staff through before they go on the floor. And that's essentially how we ensure that we get the right people out there on the floor to support our customers.
But for a whole month, they have to train?
Yeah, we put them through a whole month until we put them onto the floor so that we can ensure the quality is where we need it to be for our customers.
That's amazing. Usually here, day one, they're on the bench working, and somebody walks by and says, "You're doing pretty good."
Yeah, I mean, you know what the design industry is like, right? What might look good to me might not look good to you, and so for us to go put a new technician on one of our teams or a new client, we want to make sure that they've got a good understanding of everything that lab's looking for, and that's how we sort of ensure that.
Yeah, but you brought up a good point. How do you handle doing designs at that scale when, like you mentioned, one design might be good for them, but not so good for the other?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because
that's got to be hard.
It's difficult. And we have professionals to help us do that. But to break it down, essentially, how we've sort of solved this problem is that whenever you join Evident, the first step in doing that is filling in what we call your design preferences or building your design profile.
Okay.
And our account managers work closely to sort of understand that and decode your sort of identity. Mm-hmm. But then we also ask our customers, what do they look for in technicians, and what does their sort of onboarding process look like, and really what's the 5 aspects of a crown stay they look at or is key to their identity. And so we decode that in our onboarding process, and then we actually will build a team of designers for that lab. So you'll get the same designers every time you send a case up to evidence. You're really recruiting a team of technicians that actually work for your lab just within our office in Manila. So it's really helped us control that consistency, because you just feel like you've just got your own team, and they chat either through our portal or the likes of WhatsApp, and we have weekly meetings, production meetings with a lot of our labs, just to really feel like they're an extension of your business.
So depending on how much work a lab sends to Evident depends on how big of a team they have?
Exactly. So, if you're just in Crown and Bridge, say 40 units a day, you typically will get one technician, who'll be doing those cases for you.
That does 40 a day?
Yeah, let's say on average, 40 units a day.
That's a good output.
Yeah. You hear some people doing crazy numbers or a lot less than that, but that's a good average that we sort of work off there. Yeah. And then depending on what you send, if people we bring in implant technicians, dental technicians, we really build that team around them, so they'll have the same designers each time.
Do you usually have technicians that does the same type of restoration? Like one person does dentures, one person does night guards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we find that's the best results, and rather than making people switch and so on. So we have within the teams, there's specialists for each sort of design category.
Do you have someone that does just like anterior?
Yeah.
So you do break it down to that, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have the more senior staff on the anterior, more of our senior designers, and then junior staff will sort of start on those posterior crowns as well and work their way through. Up there as we sort of have our continuous training program to upskill our technicians, because as we see, there's more demand for these higher complex cases, and essentially that's where we see a lot of people coming to us initially, is for large smile design cases, all on fours, dentures, RPDs, which takes a little bit more of a skilled technician to get those completed.
No, for sure. The posterior crown is becoming a commodity, if it isn't already, and it's a lot of the time and efforts being put on the higher end stuff that needs help.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of talk about artificial intelligence in our industry. Is Evident into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, artificial intelligence is coming, and it's coming pretty quick, right? And it's improving every day. So we actually have our own AI teams, and we do use it internally at the moment. We don't have an AI product, but we use AI to really automate our own internal systems and help make us more efficient and do a bit of the legwork. So, AI is definitely an interesting space, and one that our viewers and listeners will probably see some updates from us in the future.
But you're not using any for crown design now.
So we do, it does a portion of our crown design. So portions of it, it'll actually do it, and then we actually have our technicians finish those cases.
Sure.
On a handful. So Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be AI doing 80% of it, and then, the 20%, the final touch being done by humans.
Exactly, and that's one way that we can help keep our lab's identity, right? Sure. Everyone has their own little stamp or squiggly bit on the crowns, and by having a human finish that, that's one way that we can ensure that before it goes back to the lab and ultimately the doctor and patient.
Yeah, for sure. With removables becoming more and more digital, are you seeing an increase in all of that?
Yeah, so removables have been growing like crazy the last little while. So we launched our RPD and dentures around June 2020, and they've been our fastest growing products ever since. I actually did a webinar a month or so ago which showed those increases, but over 100% growth from 2020 and just continuing to grow. Particularly removable partial dentures, that's one of our fastest growing.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, that's growing very quickly. But then we have partnerships with the like of Bertram Dental Lab, where people will send us those partials to design, and then we'll send it directly to Bertram to fabricate, and then they'll drop ship to the lab. And so that's a part of helping our labs automate their workflow and tackle that labor shortage that everyone's facing.
Especially with partial design.
Yeah, especially with partial design, and then Argon as well. We've got a great connection with them with a design to manufacture workflow, which achieves the same result. And they're getting into partials now, but we do a lot of work with them on crowns and implants for our customers. But generally, what we're seeing is that people are starting to believe in the denture, the materials, right? The trust is building up. People are now seeing the value in it. They're seeing how much more efficient it's making them. And that's also being driven by a lot of these older removable technicians fading out of the labs, right?
Sure.
And they just don't have the people there anymore. So we're seeing a big transition for dentures, but then all-on-4s as well. All-on-4s, and a lot of this driven by edentulous patients, but all-on-4s are growing in popularity. And then obviously a lot of people can spend a full day designing those, right? Which makes them pretty inefficient when it comes to it, although they are high value products. But we can look at it two ways. When people work with us on those all-on-4s, they can send it to us and we'll design it to completion, and then they will just fabricate it. Or a lot of people might just send it to us to do a lot of the legwork, and then they'll just put the finishing touches on it, right? That final 5% that they want, so they can actually increase their own efficiency, and then you have a technician in your lab that's, instead of producing 2 arches a day, you can go up to 6, 7, and so on.
So when a lab sends you a file, it comes back, it's easily changeable or tweakable, maybe we should say. So they can put their touch on it, because we know how much technicians love to put their little touches in it.
Yeah, they sure do. Absolutely. So, and then so Exocad, who we're partnered with, that's absolutely possible. And then it's possible with 3Shape as well. So it enables you to actually send us those cases, and we'll send you back those files directly, so you can upload them into your system and then make any tweaks that you want. But then also that's where we partnered with Exocad in February this year. Now we're seamlessly integrated into Exocad dongles all across, or Exocad dongles and Dental Share all across North America, where technicians and labs can just send cases to us directly from within Dental Share, and we'll send them back. So really helps save them the time of exporting and importing, and helps to make them a bit more efficient on their end as well. So it just drops straight back into their Exocad.
So Exocad used to, if they wanted to use your service, they would have to export out of Exocad, go to your website, and then upload it.
Correct.
Get it back, and then bring it back into Exocad. But now, all from Exocad, click of a button goes to you, comes right back, it's already in the system.
Correct, yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, nice. Fully integrated. Yeah, it's Exocad's obviously an excellent software, and we're pretty excited to have partnered with them and be their preferred design center now. It's really helping our labs out as well, because we've seen Exocad grow. It used to be, should I get Exocad? And now it's more just how many dongles do I need? Because a lot of labs got 3Shape and Exocad, which I think is a great option, right? Because they've both got their own strengths.
No, we definitely hear about it more and more.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. It's I got both.
Yeah, got both now, isn't it? So yeah, it's nice to see that labs are sort of opening up and giving themselves some more options, because both have got some pretty awesome tools.
Well, what does Evident use to design?
We use primarily 3Shape and Exocad. Are the two, but then we do have with us building teams and for our partners and sort of helping them solve the problems that they're facing. We can find ourselves using a couple of these sort of bespoke softwares, DTX Studio and so on, just to help them stay within that ecosystem that they're looking to do or get the results they're looking to achieve. But the quickest way to sum it up would be 3Shape and Exocad.
Do you use the same software that it's uploaded from? Is that what determines? Like if someone is using 3Shape, you design in 3Shape?
Yeah, so our customers decide. So if they want us to design in 3Shape, we'll design in 3Shape. If they want us to design in Exocad, we'll design in Exocad. Because we're not looking to change people's workflows. We're really looking to fit into it and complement it. Yeah. And give them the results that they need. Because if they want to design an Exocad, I mean, that's a great result for them and just makes it easier, the overall workflow.
The question is, does all 350 technicians know how to use both?
No, they don't. So it is split. So we do have Exocad technicians and 3Shape.
So now we know why you have 350.
So yeah, it's pretty awesome. They run 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, and
24 hours a day.
across 3 different shifts. And the majority of our work will get sent up around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on the time zone. We're a global company, right? So we're across US, Canada, UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So those come out throughout the day. But so a lot of those will be designed overnight. So a lot of people kind of see us as their night shift. And so those cases are back there in the morning, ready to be milled. But then we also have the option to basically send cases at 10 a.m. and they'll be back by 12, or 2 to 5 hours of turnaround times as well.
Yeah. Anybody from any labs in the Philippines use your service? Or is that just too close to home?
Too close to home, I guess. But yeah, I guess the pricing doesn't work too much for the Philippines. But yeah, we don't have any customers there. But I think the furthest we go south is my home country, New Zealand, and then out through the Middle East as well. So we're pretty lucky in the sense that we're a digital company, right? So there's really no shipping of packages or anything like that, getting held up at customs. It's really enables us to expand our footprint pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess you answered one of my questions was you guys don't produce anything. You don't manufacture anything. It's strictly a design software.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, strictly a design business. So we're just designing all day, every day, so that our partners can fabricate in-house.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's why you worked with so many of these partners like Oregon or Bertram, who we know so well. That's wonderful. You were talking about partials for a little bit, and I wanted to ask, what are you seeing people using these designs for? Are they printing wax and then still casting? Are you seeing a lot of metal printers, or do you even know?
So yeah, we do. When you sign up, we ask how you're actually planning on fabricating that, because it has an impact. A lot of people are still, casting, and so they're printing out the frame. But then SLM is growing a lot. Bertram, I think, is leading that way. You've got 3D RDP and others coming into that space. But then you've also these metal printers, as the cost is coming down. So some of these bigger labs are starting to bring that in house, and so SLM printing is growing pretty quickly, and it definitely helps make the labs more efficient as well. And having partners to actually help our labs do that is awesome, right? Because a lot of people, I'd say RPDs is the most outsourced product from any lab, right?
That and flexibles.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, an RPD, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, in a way. Yeah. So they're all getting out and shipped out. And so, being able to partner with guys like Tim down there and provide those solutions for our labs, so it really just makes it one touch and then ship it out. It really helps them open up their product offerings and acquire more customers, or really just focus on what they say is their bread and butter, right? And notice to get it out the door.
So I notice I'm on social media a lot. There's no secret there. And I see a lot of evident webinars, Facebook videos. What do you call them? Lab to lab, I think.
Yep.
How did that all get started?
Yeah, so the Lab to Lab Education Series, I was a part of that when it all got kicked off. And it was all through the COVID times, just like everyone, when the doors shut, we were all like, oh no, what are we going to do here? And, I think we're still talking a bit about that today, but our CEO, Paolo, said, we're not going to lay anyone off. We're going to sit here and we're going to work really hard so that when the doors reopen, we come out flying. And how we worked really hard throughout that time was supporting our customers, and a lot of that was just around education. Initially we're pretty lucky that Paolo, our CEO, had been through a few recessions and had been through a few of these mishaps throughout his career, and so he was able to shed some insight on what labs should be doing, and then also just pulling in the likes of, I remember Reed was one of our first guests on the...
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Reed was one of the first guests on our webinar, and just really having our labs and our partners share their experiences and what they're doing, and really just building up that network of support. And that's what the lab industry or the general industry is sort of famous for, right? Everyone's just helping each other out. I think there's very few industries where neighboring labs are good friends, for example, or neighboring businesses are good friends when they're selling the same product. But you see that a lot in the lab industry, which makes it so special.
Yeah. What's nice is this education series that you do didn't end. A lot of people did this during COVID, but when they got busy and got back to work, you didn't see them anymore. You're still doing them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing them every week.
Oh, do you really do them every week?
Well, the goal is every week, and so it doesn't always happen every week. But yeah, if we had the marketing guys on here, they would proudly tell you how many episodes we've done now.
Sure,
I'm not sure how many we've done, but yeah, pretty much every week for the last, what is it, three and a bit years now. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've learned a lot. I'm sure your first podcast or what it looks like today, you learn a lot, and you're thinking, what were we doing that first time?
Oh, it's terrible. No.
Yeah.
We tell people all the time, if you go back, start at episode 10.
Exactly. I remember our first one, like we didn't even really know what we were doing, and we just had a Zoom call, like a conference call, and there were like 30 faces on the screen, and they were like, "This has got to be a better way," and we figured it out now. And yeah, it's great. It's a great way of showcasing our partners, and then announcing updates or new products or new workflows that we're getting into as well. So it's it's a really good series, and still based around the education, right? Educating our audience and
yeah. Yeah, and you do it with video, which I applaud anyone that deals with video because I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I got called in to host one. It was a scary thought all those years ago, but now it's just kind of a part of our day-to-day routine. So
yeah, you get used to it
for an hour, and then where are they? And they're hosting that webinar. So yeah, it's become a part of the fabric of the company now. So it's good because it gives people a lot of exposure to public speaking, and then it also makes people feel a little bit more recognizable, right? Like your face is incredibly recognizable in the industry, right? Because you're out there on social media, so it sort of breaks down the barriers too for people, and they feel like they know you.
Yeah, and it's important to know, especially for a company like yours, which is so digital based, and you just kind of send these files and then you get them back and you don't really know the people behind it.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Absolutely, and that's what we're always trying to do, is build that human-to-human connection, right? Like at the end of the day, we're just a team of people here working as hard as we can to provide the best product we can. But because it is digital, people can get into the pretext that it's just a website doing that work for them. But that's why we really focus on building that team for you, and then connecting them on video calls and building that human connection, because it's important.
So let's say we do send you designs and we're having issues. Do we talk to actual technicians? Do we talk to team leads? How is that handled?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So essentially, we have account managers, which are based out of here in North America, and a lot of them are technicians, RDTs. But then also, that just means that that would be, we have to go through lines of communication. Things get lost in communication. So we will connect you directly with your technicians, so you can speak to the technicians designing those cases. A lot of the time, it'll be the team leader that comes, but that way you can speak directly to your team.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
Discuss any issues or any changes that you want to do as well. So it makes them be able to speak to the people actually doing it, which seems to get better results pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Rather than 3 people away from the actual person doing the work.
Exactly. And one thing that we've found the hard way over the years, right, is people have different definitions for a lot of different things.
Oh, sure.
And so if you just assume, or if you don't spend the time to ask those questions, then something completely different comes out. And they look at you like you're an idiot, but you've got a lab in Australia is using the same term for something completely different.
Yeah.
So we have to really, we have to make sure we understand that. But that's why not just taking a case and giving it to anyone that's free is so important. They know what you mean each time you put those notes in there, because they've been doing that case hundreds or thousands of times.
Sure. How many units do you guys design a day? Do you have that number? Are you even allowed to tell me?
I'm not really allowed to tell it, but it's
Understood.
Thousands and thousands.
I bet.
Cases. Yeah, I mean, you can do the maths, but there's a lot of units going.
That's insane.
That system. Yeah, it is insane, and I'd love for you to come see our place in Manila once. It's crazy, right? You go into a laboratory, typically covered in zirconia dust pretty quickly. It's very loud, and it's just your typical lab. But you go over and see the place in the Philippines, and it's just hundreds of people sitting on their computers clicking away. So it's a lab, but it's very different. They're very quiet, and Yeah, it really shocks a lot of people when they come to visit it because I don't think many people have. Well, they don't really think about it, right? What does it look like? And then when you see it, it's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, I figured it was just a computer and some dingy room in the basement of something, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's on like the 30th floor of this place called BGC. It's a beautiful office with beautiful view, and yeah, definitely invite anyone that works with us to come see it. It's a large scale operation. It's pretty mind blowing.
Do you have the whole floor?
Yeah, the whole floor, 2 floors actually. So,
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Nice. Maybe someday, who knows?
yeah, exactly.
So I noticed you did Lab to Lab Education Series last month, and you
Mm-hmm.
titled it the 2023 Trends to Help Scale Your Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch upon that. I'd love to maybe give some people some insight on what you talked about.
Yeah, that's a good point. So basically, we basically have a large set of data that we can use anonymously to present how how we started out was how you could compare your lab to your partners, basically. So you can see how a lab's doing in the US and how they're doing in the UK and how they're doing in Canada as our three main locations for our customer base. But and then we sort of just talked about the trends and the trends that we're seeing in products that are moving through our design center. So where we're seeing a lot of these trends is actually what we just touched on before. Is really going digital with your removables. Those are the RPDs and the dentures and all-in-4s are our fastest growing products. And so we discussed basically why is that trend and why is it happening, which has been driven by that indentureless population and then also that the trust in those materials and going digital on that, as well as the technician shortage, right, which is driving.
Are you seeing a dip in Crown and Bridge? Or is that like plateaued and then everything else is growing? Or
So Crown Bridge is continuing to grow, but not at the speeds that we see, removables and so on.
yeah,
It is continuing to grow, but definitely not at the speeds of these removables.
interesting.
Implants are growing a lot as well. Even just single units and so on. And a lot of it's just because it's hard to find those technicians in their labs, right? And so they're looking for a partner like us that can help them with the skill sets that you don't have in your laboratory.
Are you seeing, and maybe you don't know, but fixed labs, are they dipping into digital removable because of it being digital and you're seeing those kind of cases come through?
It is starting to happen more and more. We are seeing that. People feel like they can get into it because, it's digital. And then you can rely on partners like us. And as long as you say you've got a 3D printer, you can actually do that. So we are seeing more fixed labs get into that space as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to grow in that direction. I mean, you already have ExoCAD. Why not?
Yeah, and, I think if you're looking at labs that are closing down, it's a lot of those smaller, just removable labs, right, which clinicians have had relationships with, then they close down and they have to look for other options. It's if they haven't gone digital and you're looking for a digital option and a lab offers that, and they've got no option to send to their preferred partner anymore because they closed down, it gives them an option for the clinician, but then also the lab because they can rely on us to help them produce those cases.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some other trends that Evident is seeing?
Ooh, other trends. So, like everyone's seeing at the moment is the intraoral scanning. We're seeing that's obviously blowing up heaps and a lot since COVID. But, we're seeing labs now getting 70-80% of their scans coming in, their impressions coming in via iOS.
70 to 80? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a few out there which have...
Not in the Midwest.
100%, yeah. But then the consolidation as well, right? Consolidation of dental labs, particularly in the USA and Canada. Sorry, the USA, UK, and Canada. It's putting a bit of pressure on the industry, right? A lot of consolidation happening, a lot of people buying other labs, then a lot of these small labs closing down. So the trends that we're typically seeing is that these labs are growing. They're growing pretty quickly as well, and it's just as many patients out there, but less labs, and so there's a lot of work being funneled into these larger consolidators, which is an interesting stage, I guess, for the industry.
Yeah, I imagine I don't know. As they consolidate, they need your service even more because of the combined work, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. As they consolidate more, they take on more work, and they often will funnel it through one location. So maybe they can't fit more people into there, and they're taking on that more work. So using someone like us, managers, allows you to use that space a little bit more
Yeah.
effectively. You can scale back your CAD department, right? That's the easiest thing to outsource straight away is CAD design. So you can transition a CAD room into a CAM room, essentially. And
Yeah.
so that helps them produce more, right? Because at the end of the day, where labs are making their money is just on what they produce and what they ship out. So utilizing that space is so important to them, and that's where we fit in.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of labs where table space is limited.
It's limited, right?
They're running out of space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very limited. So, some of the biggest labs we see is they have 20, 30 CAD technicians. So that's it's a big room.
Yeah.
And so if you reach that ceiling and you're faced with the decision, what do? Do I move my lab to a bigger space? And I've never met anyone that's excited about moving their laboratory.
I don't know how people do it. But
yeah. It's usually a lot of stress is from what we see. So yeah, that way we can help them maximize that space, and then they still have that control, right? Because they're really just hiring a team of designers at our design center.
Yeah, I find that really a nice aspect. I didn't realize. I figured 350, and when you sent it in, some random person got your design that day.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people think that, right? And yeah, that's definitely not the case. And that's how we sort of made our name. And when we entered into it, that's what we were hearing the most, is just the inconsistency in design. And we just thought, how can we solve that problem? And just the easiest way to do that was give people the same technicians each time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we are a dental lab podcast, are
Mm-hmm.
you guys doing designs for dentists directly?
Yeah, so we do design for everyone. We don't say, no, we're not going to design for dentists. And that is another trend that we're seeing, is that a lot of clinicians are buying printers and doing a bit of chairside their work as well. So, for a laboratory, I don't think it's time you can really put your head in the sand and hope that it doesn't come. I think it's going to impact every sort of business out there. And that's where labs need to but they look at how they can add value to their customers, right? So, trends that, touching back on the trends, a trend that you see a lot start to increase is same day, all on fours. And so the labs start offering a design service for their clinicians who want to print in a house, or can they go chairside more often to help them with these complex cases, because it is definitely an evolving industry, because these 3D printers are good and they're very affordable. And so, I think that will be a trend that keeps going.
What are you seeing dentists send to you for design more? Do you work with CEREC and do the same day?
We aren't offering CEREC right now. We don't do that. Hope to do it at some point in the future. But where you'll see clinicians is a lot of wax-ups, actually. Case presentation tools. Use those to actually close the patient. So we'll see a lot of wax-ups come to us, and then they'll print them, present them, and then typically use a lab for the final fabrication of that. Then all on fours are growing a bit as well. So they'll do the temporary PMMA. They'll do the temporary, and then they'll once again use the lab for the final.
So you offer a service that during surgery you can finalize the temporary and then they can print it all while the patient's still there, or does it not move that quick?
It can move that quick. Yep.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, we've done that for both labs and dentists. So yeah, there's a pre-booking option for both labs and dentists. So we're seeing that trend grow quite a bit. Actually, there's a lot of interest in that from both dentists and labs.
Are you requiring photogrammetry?
Yep, we work with photogrammetry, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and obviously there's a few different systems out there, but yeah, whatever really we're requested to do, we'll go and do that for them.
Do you require photogrammetry, I guess should be the question, because I'd be a little wary doing a design off of anything else, but I think you have to have photogrammetry, don't you?
I'd have to check with our designers, actually. I'll double check with them exactly, but before I'd go on that one, but I believe there's a few different systems out there, right? So
sure.
I don't think we can photogrammetry with every case.
Yeah. That's great. So what else is Evident working on in the near future? What are you guys planning on bringing out?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And so, obviously design is such an integral part of the dental lab, but and going digital has made labs so much more efficient. But what we're seeing is that, this efficiency is creating new roles in the lab, which are actually very inefficient. So, for example, a lot of people now will just have to employ staff just to transfer files around the lab, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That is a very expensive administration task. So where we're looking at the products which we expect to come out pretty soon is what we're sort of calling an iOS scraper. So we have integrations with the iOS companies to funnel those scans directly into your lab management software or into a destination of your choice to sort of eliminate that need to consistently check the different portals, because you might have 7 or 8 if you're a larger lab, and some people have 5 or 6 people just doing that all day. So we have been building automations to solve that problem for our partners. And
that is huge if you can pull that off.
Yeah, so we're currently testing it right now with about 15 or 20 labs or so. And then off the back of that, we're literally looking to help our labs in this tight labor market, right? And so it's really about delivering touchless workflows. And so, if that scan's there, it's all online, so they can actually funnel those scans directly to Evident or design them. And then we do build ready plates for them to print, say, their models and so on. So the first time they're sort of touching that case is when they're ready to actually start manufacturing it as well. So it's about building these end-to-end workflows to make it as touchless as possible, which really helps them improve their efficiency, but essentially profitability at the end of the day. So that's those are the two kind of ideas in the oven, which we're going to be releasing pretty soon.
So it comes back to a lab nested?
Yep.
Ready to go. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we've got partnerships with Asiga, Carbon, Formlabs, Accurator, and everyone like that, where we're actually doing a lot of that nesting for them.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So let me ask you if you know of any person out there that uses your services and then outsources the manufacturing, and basically they just don't do anything. I'm wondering if this is a viable business.
You know what? I've had a lot of conversations where a lot of people would just say, if I was going to start a lab these days, I'd just kind of open up a shop window and then just send the design to you guys, and then use a milling center or someone else to produce it, and then just ship it out, put your packaging on it, because there are so many options now, right? You got the great guys down there at Argon, which do a lot of this outsourced milling, and someone else designing, and you can really send it anywhere. Someone's going to do it for you, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
There's none that I know off the top of my head, but I bet there is somewhere.
I bet there is too.
Yeah.
And they're driving a nice car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about the ExoCAD, because I know that's relatively new. Every ExoCAD that people have, they don't have to do anything. It's already included.
Yeah, so in North America, so as long as you've got Dental Share on there.
What is Dental Share? Is that their version of...
It's essentially their version of transferring files or connecting with your partners. So it's really a FTP sort of system, file transfer system. And so you can connect with, previously you could build your own network, and you still can, where you connect with a design partner, or you connect with a milling center to send those files. But essentially we've worked together, and we're looking at ways that we can streamline the process. And so as part of our partnership, ExoCAD have basically enabled an extension in there which has just the Evident logo. You just click on that. If you're an existing customer of Evidence, it sort of synchronizes in the background, and you just send the case off. Or if you're a new customer and never used our services, you just fill in a quick form, and then you've got create an account, and then the case will be back to you in 24 hours.
Is that how long it takes? 24 hours?
On the first case, typically, 24 hours is what we would advertise. But I think looking at some data the other day of our average turnaround time over the last year or so, it's about 10 hours where most cases are coming back.
Wow. Have you seen an explosion of ExoCAD cases since your partnership?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, an explosion, it just made it so easy, right? And anything you can do to make someone's life easier, they're typically going to knee jerk to that when the stress is on or the pressure's on. And so, absolutely, we've seen an explosion in exocad cases, and luckily, we're obviously we're prepared for that as well as we sort of built up to the release date.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Guy, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it's great to finally be on here, and appreciate it.
Appreciate everything that you and Evident does, and keep doing what you're doing, and maybe someday we'll run into each other.
No doubt we will. So yeah, thank you once again, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Guy. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Guy, for coming on the podcast and talking to Elvis about the services that Evident has to offer. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be at the recording because I know how useful a good design company can help a lab grow and scale. Like I really do, because 40 a day, that's pretty spectacular. But I certainly learned a lot about Evident listening to your conversation. I really think it's important that they give a lab a dedicated team to work on their cases, and I think that spells consistency. If you want to learn more, head over to evidentdigital.com for the design services and evidentlabs.com if you want to know more about their lab management software. Thank you again, Guy.
All right, everyone. We are heading off to the triathlon.
Yes.
Wish us luck.
We are. Oh, you don't need luck. You got this. I need luck, man.
You need luck. I just need to show up.
No, you don't. You're awesome, though, and so is your team. I think Bobby needs luck, just saying. Hopefully.
Yeah, we got this.
Speedo.
We got this. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Circle 62 times.
That's how I feel about f***ing swimming.